Are you struggling to get back into training after a long break? Don't worry, we've all been there. Some of us more than others. I'm kind of there right now, and we're talking about 5 mistakes to avoid to set yourself up for as much success as possible. There's one mistake that's particularly insidious because it's normally good advice, but as with everything, it all depends on the context. So let's get into it. Mistake number 1 is not having a focused vision for what you want to accomplish and when.
There is no passion, there is no vision, there is no aggression, there is no fucking mindset.
We need something to aim for. Without that direction, it's extremely unlikely that we'll ever get ourselves out of the funk that caused us to stop training in the first place. We need outcome goals, like I want to feel strong and powerful in my body, and process goals, like I'm going to strength train 3 times per week with 3 movements per day and at least 1 day of rest between each session. And we need to be smart about how we set those goals. But what I really mean is that we consider what's realistic given our circumstances and level of readiness. I'm reminded of a quote, "Shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." That may work for some people, and if that works for you, more power to you. But if you're depressed, grieving a personal tragedy, and trying to heal and just want to feel less shitty, I don't think shooting for the moon is the best strategy to start with. It's okay to start small. Give yourself permission to not have all the answers, to not be perfect, but to try anyway.
Mistake number 2, not having a plan.
If you just tell yourself that you're going to show up to the gym and try to figure it out as you go, I mean, you might, but you probably won't. Not hating, just saying. That's what I've seen over the past few decades in the gym. The folks who stay consistent for a long period of time always have the structure of an outlined plan. It doesn't need to be the most meticulous plan in the world, but the skeleton framework needs to be there. So, how to set up your plan. Determine how many days per week and how much time you're willing to commit to it. 3 days, 1 day, an hour a day, 20 minutes a day. Nothing is too small to start with. I'd actually rather you undershoot than overshoot here. Next, determine what exercises you're going to do based on the specific goals you have set for yourself. And finally, determine how you're going to perform those exercises. How many sets, reps, rest periods, and so on. If that's too much planning, I get it. But that doesn't mean go in without a plan. There are plenty of free or low-cost training programs online that you can follow, and honestly, at this point, it doesn't really matter which one, as long as you follow it consistently, at least until you've built up enough momentum through consistency that you're ready to branch out and try something else.
Mistake number 3, trying to do too much too soon.
It's so easy to feel like we need to play catch up when we've been out of the game for a long time. You may have a lot of different goals that are important to you and that you want to work on, but nobody can do everything all at once. If we could, you probably wouldn't be getting back into it, right? This is a lifelong journey, and from that perspective, does it really matter if you could get your squat back up to 405 in the next 8 weeks? Save those goals for when you're already consistently back in it. For now, just focus on showing up and executing your plan.
Mistake number 4, waiting for the perfect circumstances to get started.
Just do it!
So many of us are waiting for a sign to tell us to take the next step, not realizing that the sign we're waiting for is the inner voice that's been urging us to get back into it. But we've been conditioned to be more in touch with what's going on in the newsfeed than what's going on in our own lives, so we ignore the signal. Would you be watching this video if there wasn't some part of you encouraging you to start taking care of yourself again? An old proverb that has always felt significant to me, passed down in various forms throughout history, goes something like, "Don't wait for the iron to get hot before striking. Make the iron hot by striking." Imperfect action will bring you further than no action at all. Look, you may not be ready to get back into the gym, and that's okay. Just be honest with yourself about it. Give yourself grace, and know that when you're truly ready, you don't need to wait for everything to be perfect to start. You may just be contemplating your return to training, and that's wonderful. If I may suggest as a potential next step, get your plan together so that when you really are ready to step back into it, you already know what you're going to be doing for the first month, and all you have to do is show up and execute.
And mistake number 5, comparing yourself to yourself.
We've all heard some version of the saying, don't compare yourself to others, only to yourself. Well, if you're comparing yourself now to yourself at peak performance, you may be self-sabotaging and making things harder on yourself than they need to be. I've been there, and I'm not saying that this is a mistake for everybody. There have been stages in my life where I was getting back into training after a long break, and comparing where I was restarting at to my peak was actually motivating for me and helped me push myself. That's what I needed at that time, and I don't regret doing it. But with my most recent return to training, that wouldn't have worked for me, because where I am mentally and emotionally. In that first scenario, it worked for me because I was younger, my hormone levels were different, and the cause of my break was just that I prioritized smoking weed and playing World of Warcraft over actually training. So when I came back to it, I came back with a vengeance. This most recent time, I was set back due to some traumatic personal losses, and if I try to take the same approach to getting back into it, you wouldn't be watching this video right now because I'd still be drinking myself into a numb stupor. The point is, just compare your progress today to where you were yesterday. This is a lifelong journey and plenty will change. You can't chase the same thing forever. As you evolve as a person, your goals will evolve with you.
So what did I miss? Leave a comment. Let me know your best tips and strategies for making a successful return to training. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you would consider subscribing to the channel as we continue to explore the great mystery through physical training and finding joy in movement. I'm back. I don't plan on taking a layoff again anytime soon, and I'll catch you in the next one.